This is the BM e-bikes Helio, or BM Helio is actually the model name of this. At first glance, it looks really similar to some of their other models, but this one's actually really well suited for larger riders because it comes in two rather large frame sizes, 21 and 23 inch. It's actually very similar to the other ones and just this really clean aesthetic. There's like not a lot of markings or anything like that aside from the suspension fork. It's black, and that's kind of the theme that they've got going at BM e-bikes. And I like it because it blends all the wires and stuff together. So you can see that, you know, they've got zip ties all around this thing. The wires aren't actually integrated into the tubing, but that might make it a little easier to work with. And frankly, this is sort of what you're buying is sort of a built bike. It's not quite as purpose-built as something like an Easy Motion that has like an integrated frame battery, but what that means is you're saving some money and you're really getting a lot of power with this model in particular. So the cool thing about the Helio, and the real focal point for me, was it still has the BBS01 motor, but they've actually got the BBS02 motor controller. So it delivers 25 amps of power instead of 18 on their lower models, right? And so that is quite noticeable when it's paired up with this 48 volt 9 amp hour battery pack. So 48 volts, I mean, that's enormous when, you know, using a mid-drive that can take advantage of that, the Cassette on the rear, which by the way is also very impressive. The Cassette is a 9-speed Shimano DRA XT that's like just below the top of the line on the Shimano, you know, drivetrain offerings, and it's just not only high quality but a decent range. On the front here, we've got a single sprocket, and that's the way these mid-drives, most of them, work. It helps to keep the chain from falling off, and it means you're not going to get as much mashing as if you had two derailleurs functioning. You can see there's still a derailleur here they left on, because again, they sort of build these, but that derailleur might act as kind of like a chain guide and kind of keep it from flopping off. I'm not really sure, but I guess I'd like to think that. This front sprocket is a race face NW, and it comes in like black, red, or I think green. It's a little bit smaller than the stock chainring on the BBS01 or BBS02. It's a little bit smaller, and as such, it gives you more mechanical advantage when you're pedaling, and it's better for off-road, which is exactly what this bike is designed for and really capable at going for. So they've got this spider here, or chainring adapter, that's custom engineered. We're in Northern California. I'm testing this in North LA, where BM e-bikes is based, and that's made here, along with, again, the frame and everything kind of being assembled from you know, good quality parts. They put them all together and you get a bike like this. So what you're getting is a 6-month warranty and a pretty solid bike that you can just buy into. You don't have to build it yourself, and I think that's kind of cool. You know, a lot of the bikes I review are, you know, pre-built. You're going out, you're trying to pick an electric bike and just find the one that fits your needs and your lifestyle. And again, for this one, being a little bit larger and more powerful, it's going to be good for a larger rider. So hit some of the other specs real quick. I already talked about the Shimano drivetrain back there. This is a 27.5 inch wheel set, so it's a step up from 26, step down from 29. You're still going to get like the maneuverability, and frankly, this is a 100 millimeter travel on the suspension fork up here. So if this was a 29er, you know, you might have to think about if it's going to prop the bike forward. Anyway, it's a compromise. You're bringing the frame up a little bit with these 27.5 inch wheels. You know, the axle is a little bit higher off the ground, and that also sort of caters to the larger person who's riding, and I just really like that. I think this is really well thought out bike. And if we come back to a lot of the components being a little bit upgraded, we've got 180 millimeter rotor in the back, but we've got, oh, I messed that up. 180 is in the front and 160 is in the rear. So, you know, they aren't consistent that way, but having something that's a little bit larger in the front is going to give you more control and improved stopping power, and that's kind of cool. Like the other lower end bikes from BME, they just have like 160s all across, so that's a cool upgrade. They're Tektro and they're hydraulic, so you're going to get easy activation, you know, with just a finger or two, and really smooth, and that's important, you know, riding on bumpy terrain, going down trails. I appreciate that. One thing that's questionable, though, they don't have like the motor inhibitor, and because this does offer throttle mode and pedal assist, if you're in pedal assist and the motor's going, you know, it's not as responsive as like a Bosch system or, you know, the Impulse 2 system, it's not measuring as rapidly, and so that chainring could continue to spin, and you could be activating the brakes, and for a moment you might be fighting that. So just keep that in mind. Worth calling out as sort of like a negative here, or like a con. I want to get back to the specs here before I get too much further. So let's see, it looks like 27.5 by 2.25, so a little bit wider tires, and we've got Presto valves on these right down there. Quick release front and rear. That's one of the huge benefits of any mid-drive electric bike. It's just going to be easier to fix a spoke or a tube or a tire while you're on the trail, and to have a shop help you out with maintenance, because everything back here is just traditional bicycle stuff. You know, it's less intimidating. And frankly, just like they've sort of retrofitted this race face sprocket, you could kind of mess with this yourself. It's a little bit more like a tinker edition. It's kind of how I think of it. These pedals aren't stock. It should come with the Wellgo aluminum alloy platform that I like. You know, it's just black. It matches. They're rigid. The whole frame is actually pretty rigid and enjoyable to ride around. But I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but this is NW. It's narrow wide, so the teeth go from kind of narrow to wide, and that helps to prevent chain slipping. So that's just another cool sort of like fun fact about this bike. I like that the frame has, you know, seat stay braze-ons right there, as well as like a little right here threaded eyelet, so you could add fenders and stuff and really set this thing up for actually riding around town if you wanted. This bike would work really well for that kind of application, in addition to being off-road capable. So it's a really good setup. I already talked about the motor, 350 watt nominal, but it actually peaks out way upwards of 600 watts. And again, especially with the 25 amps of power surging from the 48 volt battery pack, it's locking, it's removable, and the weight is all like right in the middle of the frame. So it's just it's well thought out, right? But I should call out that the battery sort of blocks where you might otherwise mount a bottle cage. Okay, so you might have to get an adapter or just wear a Camelback or something like that. Oval Concepts is one of their brands here. So that's what the seat is. It's pretty nice looking, you know, pretty clean. Same with the seat post, the stem, and the handlebars. We've got these decent grips. You know, they don't have lockers or anything, but they look nice enough. They blend in. I think that's kind of everything. And you know, the Suntour, what is this? I wanted to see XCM30 is what I'm seeing here. I think this is hydraulic and spring, so it's not maybe quite as light as air. But the fact that you've got that remote lockout is really cool. And of course, you've got like kind of a basic rebound adjust right there. And here's the remote lock switch. And on this side is where the throttle is. So they've kept the cockpit pretty clean, but you do have the extra little features that some of the lower end bikes from BMEBIKES they don't have. I might just jump in now and talk a little bit about how you activate this thing. Basically, once the battery's charged, you don't have to leave the keys in. You can pull them out like this, hold down the power button for a couple seconds, boop, boop, and it turns on. So there we go. It's got just kind of a grayscale, you know, LCD thing going on. It's not removable. It is a little bit adjustable frontward and backward, depending on how tight you have it, and that could reduce glare a little bit. But frankly, it works well enough. You know, it's pretty easy to read while you're going, and I like that sort of tall design like that, because it leaves a lot of space on the handlebars. So anyway, we got speed, miles per hour or kilometers per hour, 5 little battery bars, pedal assist levels. It comes set with 3, but you can adjust it so that it has 5 or 9, and that just makes your increments smaller and gives you more precise power output for pedal assist and throttle mode. You can see your watts here, so as you're really like, you know, pushing down on that trigger throttle, you can see like, man, I'm putting out 600 watts, even though it's a 350 watt nominal. And then of course there's a trip distance. So it's a neat setup, like all across the board, and it's pretty easy to activate the levels of assist from this remote button pad. I should say that the throttle output is sort of limited by what mode of pedal assist you're in. So if you're in pedal assist 1, your throttle is not going to put out as much power as if you're in level 3 or 5 or 9 if you set the thing that way. And you know, to mess with it, you hold down the plus and minus, and it gets you into the menus. You can kind of tweak things, get that kilometers per hour. This doesn't have like a throttle only mode. So, you know, one thing I've noticed is if I'm in throttle mode and I'm like going around, I'm having fun, and then I forget and I pedal, like, whoa, the motor can kind of kick on. And that's true of like all the 8Fun BBSO drive systems. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're riding this. And for what your ride needs are. Yeah, I think it might be a good time to sort of weigh the bike. Hey, Tim, will you help me out? So this is Tim. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So you're like the founder of BMEBIKES, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, he's going to help me with the weighing here. Let's see here. Yeah, maybe I can just hand you the camera. Sure. Great. So it's all zeroed out. Thank you. I'm going to try to balance this right from the center, because that's one of the things your bike does have, like a good center of balance. Okay, good. We're zeroed out. 48 point, come on, 4. Oh, yes. 48.4 pounds. So it's a slightly heavier bike than the other ones I measured were like 44, 45, but we're looking at, I think, the 21-inch frame right here. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's a larger frame, and I still think that's fairly light, pretty well balanced. I wanted to take the battery off too and just show what that looks like. So let's see here. Put this back in my pocket. Let's see. Twist like that. There we go, slides up. And I really like this little like rail thing, and you guys have put in extra sort of like bolts. What are those called?
The riv nuts.
What are they?
Riv nuts.
Riv nuts. Yeah. Okay, yeah, you showed me one back at the shop, and it was pretty cool. It like goes in and then it crunches and it sort of like connects on the frame.
Reinforces the bolts.
It's really reinforced. So yeah, this is the battery pack here, and yeah, 48, and it actually says 8.8 amp hours. It's got the fuse and stuff. Really clean, really nice looking thing. And I'm gonna try to weigh this. .2. Cool. Okay. Nice. So, you know, a couple pounds, like a pound and a half more than the other ones, and you get that 48 volts. Is this also the battery size for your highest end bike, like your full suspension?
No, actually, that one has a 36 volt on there.
That one's 36 too. So this is like your power edition bike.
It is.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna hand you the keys.
Here you go.
And I'll take the camera back. And maybe I'll hand you these too. Thanks, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and hop on and do a little bit of a ride test. And they've been warning me like this one can kind of kick. So
let's try to lean forward a little bit.
Lean forward a little bit. Yeah. Might start off in pedal assist level 1. And ease off when we shift. Okay. Yeah. Assist level 1, you can already feel it feels like assist level 2 on the 36 volt systems. Okay. Pretty smooth. You can see that you know, there is a little bit of a delay from when I stop pedaling and the motor stops putting power out, you know. And with something like this, the 48 volts, 25 amps flowing into this 350 watt motor, you know, there are moments where it's like I'm squeezing the brakes because I'm like, oops, I want to stop, and I notice that I'm fighting with it a little bit more. You know, want to be careful with that. I feel like there's a little more potential for just like getting off balance without those motor inhibitor brake levers. But frankly, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely one of the more powerful off-road, bikes I've tried, and being able to leverage that cassette with the mid-drive is pretty phenomenal. Okay, so, I've been messing around on this hill. You can kind of see that's a good angle. Do you have any idea what, the incline might be on this?
No idea.
We can't really measure it, but it's steep.
Pretty steep grade.
Yeah, and I weigh 135 pounds, so I'm not the heaviest rider, but just to give you some idea of, what this bike is capable of. I've got it in first gear this time. It actually made it up in third, but just to show, if you can follow along, Tim's got the camera just close and kind of, watch the wheels and stuff, and we'll see how this does in throttle-only mode. Whoa. Look at that. $28.99, even though I've been dubbing this as a larger person bike, the extra power, very noticeable at 25 amps versus 18. It's a solid bike, and it's $200 more than the next level down, the Nighthawk. It's a lot of fun. So for the full write-up on this, along with the specs and pictures and other BM e-bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com.